Because hello, everybody. You're very welcome to the think tank, and we're here with the wonderful Dorie Howell. Hi, Dorie.
Hi.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So, Dorie, I know you've great tips for us, right? Because it's getting exciting now. Yeah, we're getting ready to relaunch our businesses, and we understand that every country is different. So here in Europe right now, we're still very much in lockdown, but in the US, there are some states opening up. So we have to think about all those things. But before we deep dive into some of those, I'd just like to let everyone know who you are. Yeah, I know you're really famous, but there may be some people online who don't know some of your background, right? So
I think really famous is very subjective.
No, you are. You're just being modest on me. So come here, tell us anyway, because I was really lucky. I was at Sync this year with you, and I sat in the audience, and I was able to see yourself and Rachel do your stuff and teach us all some great things. But I didn't know that you were a classically trained singer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tell everybody, just tell people just a little bit about that as to, how that positions yourself for you to enter the photography business and all that, but and the skills that it taught you and
It's
just a
so
little bit of...
so very interesting. Rachel is a classically trained violist. I'm a classically trained vocalist. We didn't come together through music, though. We came together through photography. We didn't know each other in those separate lives. And I've been singing, oh gosh, ever since I was a young child in churches. And then when I was probably 12 or 13, I got started hiring. I was singing for weddings, and I started making money with my voice and doing that type of thing. And I was taking, while in high school, I was going to the local college to take classes and doing competitions. And then I traveled a long time right out of high school around the world singing. And so singing was always a really, really big part of me growing up, and music of me growing up. And before I opened a photography studio, I had a private voice studio where I was teaching people how to sing. And I loved that. I loved the flexibility of it. I loved that I could make the hours. I loved just that entrepreneurial spirit of that, which I get from my dad. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and it just kind of made sense with my temperament and that type of thing. So I love teaching voice lessons. And then, of the common story that a lot of us women have, where I had a baby. So that kind of took me out of that for a while. And for my first Mother's Day, my husband asked me what I wanted. And I said, I really would like a nice camera. And he said, well, would you like this or would you like this? And I went with the DSLR. And I just kind of was able to focus my creative energy into a different place. It wasn't necessarily with my voice. I was still singing on the side and doing a lot of stuff with church and events and that kind of stuff. But it became more of a hobby that I could like, because I wasn't having to worry about making any money with it. And then the photography thing just sort of blossomed. It really did. And because of that entrepreneurial spirit that I have, I realized very early on that if I was going to be capturing images or doing things for someone else, then I needed to get paid, because I was by saying yes to them and spending that time with them, then I was saying no to my family or no to something else that I wanted to do with my time and my energy. And so I started charging very early on. And I learned things very quickly that I didn't want to be cheap. And so that's kind of how things happened with my business, and then also with the transition from music into photography. I just consider it a different arm of my creative talents, and something that I love.
Okay, so do you think that a lot of the skills you need to be a classical singer like you, a great singer on stages and everything else, were there similar skills to that sort of helped with photography? Like, are they both right-brained or left-brained skills?
Where I think it helps everyone is the fact that singing, specifically learning to sing on stage, being a vocal performance major and having extensive experience singing, helps me in dealing with my clients specifically. I am very poised when I speak with them. I can think quickly on my feet if something goes wrong. If you've ever been on stage and had a shoe fall off, or you've tripped or something, it gives your brain a way of thinking quickly on its feet. I don't get embarrassed about certain things, and having a good voice is just really handy when you need to sing all the princess songs to a little girl when she's sitting in your studio. So that's an added benefit as well. So there are specific things that I can correlate the two, but it's very interesting in the fact that as I go on in my career, I realize more and more how that stage experience specifically helped me, not only with the speaking things like at Sync, but also just day to day with my clients, that there's a poise and a confidence and kind of a fake it till you make it attitude that I have, that I can get away with, that other people struggle with.
Very good. So when you started to learn photography then, was there a particular photographer who taught you the skill set of photography, you know, the art of photography as distinct from the business of photography?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. Back when I did this, back in the dark ages, before social media and free PDFs and all that kind of thing, there were forums where you could sign in, you could become a member of certain forums. And I have always been a very keen observer of people and also different things. So I started realizing, oh, I can see the shape of the modifier they used in the studio if I zoom in on the eyes really well. I can see where that light is coming from based on the shadows of their face. I can see if they're using this light here and a hair light here based on certain highlights and that kind of thing. So once I got past just being overwhelmed with aperture and focal length and all those things with my camera, I really was a keen observer of things. And because I'm not afraid to try things, I'm not afraid to fail, really, is what it boils down to. I just started experimenting with a lot of different things. And then I kind of found something that I liked. I did take online workshops. I did do all of that type of thing and invest heavily in my education. But once I got into it, I wasn't taking a workshop because I needed to learn all of it. I was taking a workshop because I wanted to focus on one specific thing that I knew could move my skill set forward.
Right.
So being a very keen observer, not afraid to ask questions, and just not afraid to fail has served me very well.
And most photographers have a particular style, right?
Yeah.
So was there any particular photographer style that influenced your end style? Or
when it comes to my newborns, Carolee Case,
okay,
who is a very well-known photographer. She does a newborn photography. She does a lot of the proppy things. I don't do so much of the proppy things, but just her lighting and her post-processing things. I was really drawn to at the beginning. And then once I took a workshop from her. And then once I kind of learned how she did it, I was able to modify it so it works for me.
So it becomes your style, yeah?
Yeah,
so
it becomes my style.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just, you just need a little jumping off point of like, okay, how do they do this? I don't want it to be exactly like this, but how now I can change it to do this. And as far as my family work goes, I really like Allison Tyler Jones. Who doesn't love Allison, right? ATJ
Absolutely.
is the bomb. And I like Michelle Celentano, and those are people that I watch. And when I was really new in the business, I watched a lot of people. As I've become more, I guess, seasoned, you would say, I actually don't watch as many people at all, just because I want to be unique and I want to, I know where the holes are in my shooting. You know, I took a workshop from Jeff Duchowski, who we all know and love. And so little things along the way have allowed me to input that into my own style and my own shooting technique.
Very good. So tell us then, like, we know you and Rachel as a dynamic duo, right? So when did you guys, how did you meet, or how did you get to know each other? I know it's through photography, but can you tell us a little bit about the backstory?
Okay, so 5 or 6 years ago, there was a little local group that was starting in Washington, D.C. called In-Person Sales for the Professional Photographer. It started out as being a local group, and Rachel was part of the founding of that group, but I joined the same day, okay? And it just kind of took off locally, and then all of a sudden they were getting people to join all around the world. It's become an international group for people who want to learn specifically business and IPS. We're not an all-purpose business group. It really is within the context of IPS. And as that group grew, we decided that Ken Whitmire, who was fabulous, loved him so much, he called me one day and he said, Dorie, I want you to come to my wall portrait conference. And I want Rachel to come too. If you guys can get here and get a hotel room, it's free. But I want you to come. I want to meet you. And I think that your message is really great that you're doing in this group. And so when we never met him, we'd met in person one time before, which was just at a dinner, like across the table. We decided to room together. We went to this conference together, basically being strangers. And we left that conference with a plan to start IPS Mastermind. We're just like, we're sitting on something that's really, really great. People need this education. And I know people were teaching it before, but people have kind of referred to us like the pioneers of like the modern IPS movement. And so, you know, almost 4.5, 5 years later, here we sit with our membership, IPSM, our Revive program, which is an awesome program for photographers. And it has been a super fun journey. And Rachel, we actually started that business sitting in the food court at the local mall or at the library. We didn't have any funding, nothing like that. And now Rachel lives in Memphis with her family, and I'm living in outside of Washington, D.C. And we have some employees all around, and we love serving photographers.
That's brilliant. And I know at Sync I met some of your team. It was wonderful to meet you. I think you hadn't been together for a while because you're used to all this virtual organization stuff because you're all over the place.
Yeah, we have Kelly in Vermont. We have myself in DC. We have Stephanie about an hour south of me in DC. We have Rachel in Memphis, and then we have Cherie, who's in Virginia now, but she's about to move to Alabama to be closer to her family. So we're really going to be spread out. So once a year, what we try and do at a conference, usually where we're speaking or that type of thing, is we all come together, we rent an Airbnb, and we not only do we work really well together, we all get along very, very well. And we just have a great time. So Sync was that for us. So you saw us, where we hadn't really had a chance to be together too much.
Very good, very good. So, and I know in IPS Mastermind in the public group, there's 60,000 plus people.
Around
right?
62, 63,000 people worldwide. Yeah.
Excellent. And so people who join IPS Mastermind, would you say they're on a particular part of their journey in our industry?
You know, we have people of all levels in our paid program of Revive. And one of those things that is great is that when we put this together, originally when we did it, we were just kind of we didn't, full confession, who really knows what they're doing when they're starting a business, right?
Tell me about
nobody knows. And so when we started IPSM, we really were clueless. And we're like, okay, well, this is a plan, let's try this. And there weren't the resources out there like there are today about membership sites and all that kind of stuff. And we just dove headfirst in. It was a hot mess from the beginning. It wasn't polished in any way. And we really, I think, attracted a lot of just our audience because people loved us and trusted us, like, hey, this is really great. And now as we've evolved, we refined it. It's become much more professional, much more polished. We attract either people who are beginning businesses or they're really flat, like they're not getting the traction that they want in their business. So it's three things. They're beginning, they've been in business for a while and they don't know how to get ahead in their business, or they've been in business a while, but they've missed a lot of those steps along the way, so they can go in and fill in the blanks with their education to make sure they're doing things that suit their business best. And we're not attracting, 30-year veterans who have studios and are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That's not who we serve. We serve more the other end of the spectrum.
And just curious, a question. I don't know whether you can answer this or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway because that's the type of guy I am, right? Do you see, so like when I go back in time, so if I go back 25 years ago and you're at a photography conference, 90% of the people there were male, right? And 10% female. And now even when you look at PPA membership, it's gone that it's nearly 65, 70% female and 35 or 30% male. What are you seeing in your group? Are you seeing that sort of dynamic coming through your membership as well? Or?
Women are stepping up, Ronan. You guys better be careful. We're coming for you, right? So I think that because we are women and because we approach business from a very specific way, and you're led by two strong-willed women, me being kind of the tell it like it is, straight shooter, straight between the eyes, that's one approach. And then you have Rachel, who has a little bit more softer approach, but still very direct. We're attracting people who are drawn to our personalities and who trust us. And as far as the split, I would say that our membership does go 70-ish women, about 30%-ish men. We have, and then there's subcategories within those things. So mostly female at this point in time. But I think there is something to be said there in the fact that the women the men who are in our membership and in our groups are usually full-time career gentlemen who want to make this their living or are already making it their living, but they need to do better. As far as the women are concerned, we do have that percentage of people who are full-time, but then we have a lot of women who just want to make maybe do 2 sessions a month, but make the most out of those sessions that they possibly can, because they're still caring for children, or they're doing that type of thing. And then we have people who are also just working full-time jobs, and this is something that they want to maximize in their free time. So those different components make up our full membership on the free side, and it pretty much matches on the pay side.
Very good. So where we are now, so why we're talking today, right, is you guys have produced a guide, because we've been through stages of this COVID-19 war, right? And some of us are all at different stages, like we talked about a little earlier, in terms of, we're in full shutdown pretty much still in Europe, but there's some states opening up in the US. And there's even a debate going on about when is it safe for me to open, and there's the risk if I open too early, am I going to get really bad publicity? And there's going to be people saying, no, you're too early, even though other people will be saying, no, it's not too early. What's your feeling on that, and what's your advice for people who are in that sticky decision-making piece?
I think that there's several things that you need to consider when it comes to opening up your business. One thing is that everyone has an opinion of when it's right or when it's wrong, and only you can make the decision that's best for you and your personal circumstance. I like to assume that everyone is operating, and this is how we put this next thing together. We like to assume that everybody is operating under the understanding that they are doing it safely, that they have become educated in what needs to be done with their business and that type of thing. We know that's not the case, but there's going to be people who honestly, and I've said this the whole time, specifically with our members, is like, I'm not going to judge you if you need to pay your mortgage this month. I'm not going to judge you if you feel that you are acting safely and you need to pay your bills and put food on the table for your family. That is not my place. My place is to communicate what I think is the best way for you. My job is to make sure that I give the information of the things that you need to consider before you take an action one way or the other. So the first thing that I think people really need to consider in deciding whether it's right to open up or not is what's best for you and your family and your loved ones. Rachel has 4 kids, and she has a daughter that is she has a lung disease. I don't know exactly what it's called, but they have been on high alert for months. I don't think they pulled their kids out way earlier than the state of Tennessee said they needed to. She saw the writing on the wall, and she pulled all her kids out, and she was really, really kind of made a cocoon for her family that is safe, because her daughter needs that. There's other people who live in other areas that haven't had one single COVID case in their community. And so why are they being asked by the state to stop business when it's really not an issue for them? So, and just like in my county, in metropolitan Washington, D.C. area, just my county alone, we're still having our caseload go up. But then the state kind of opened today, because we live in a large, and then it'll take other steps to open next Friday. because we're in a large metropolitan area, it's very concentrated where we are, but then there's people out in the Shenandoah Mountains again who haven't had a case at all. So it really boils down to what you need to do, what is best for you and your family. That's our number one priority, is keeping our families safe. So what is best as far as your physical health? Is everybody healthy? Is everyone around you healthy? Have you been quarantined? That type of thing. And then what's best for your mental health? Because I think, you know, as an extrovert myself, I am longing to connect with people and hug them and be in their presence and that type of thing. And I can't do that right now. But there's also people, because like our kids are out of school. I'm assuming over there, the kids are out of school, right?
Yes, they're out
So we
till
have a lot
September
of
here.
parents, yeah, homeschooling, and that's not being lifted anytime soon. In fact, our schools have been out. They said weeks ago that we weren't going to have school till the end of the year. So then we go into summer, and then who knows what's going to happen in the fall, right? So that's a lot of pressure on a family, especially when you have children, young children that need to be homeschooled, basically. And that adds a lot of mental pressure to people. So can you handle the load of opening your business? Are you one that's going to find that overwhelming, or are you going to find that as a wonderful escape to be able to do that? Does it fit with your schedule for you and your family? Does it fit with your finances? Can you afford to sit back a little bit longer and not be in business? Or are you on the edge saying, no, I need to book some sessions today for my family's well-being? Because yes, there are resources out there to help, but they're not as comprehensive as we wish they were going to be. And so those are the things that I think people need to think about as far as just opening for your own personal mental health, physical safety, all of those types of things.
And Dorie, do you think that depending on the type of photography I do, that should influence it? So is there, if I'm a newborn photographer versus outdoor family, is that a consideration as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's in our, when you're considering your business being opened up, I think the number one consideration is, first of all, is it legal for you to open up? In the States, and I don't know how it works elsewhere, in the States, you can actually, as a non-essential business, contact the governor's office and the legal hierarchy there and get an exception, because it seems weird to me that manicure, nail salons, massage parlors, gyms, and that type of thing, those are on the front line of opening up first over here, which I mean, to me, that's crazy, right? But a photographer wouldn't feel safe opening up. But the type of photographer you do is very, very, very important. If you're just doing engagement sessions and you're outside and you're across the field from someone with your 7200 and you're not even really getting close to people, yeah, shoot away. I don't really see the issue with that at all. But if you're a newborn photographer and you're having people come into your studio, or specifically into your home studio, and we all know, I have snuggled with some babies for 15, 20 minutes, 40 minutes to get them to calm down and be very close in their space. That's another consideration. Is it safe for you to be doing that? So headshots, yeah, I would probably do headshots right now. I would probably do couples right now, engagement sessions, personal branding sessions, that type of thing. I'm not opening my business anytime soon for a newborn. I'm just not going to do it. Also because right now I had a studio in my home until quarantine hit, and now my studio is my daughter's personal gymnastics and cheer space. So I have a bunch of that equipment down there now. So I would have to do a whole bunch of work to get that ready to go anyway, because you have to do what you need to do when you only got so much space. So I think the type of photography is really important to consider with this. The other thing I think you need to consider is your community. So we talked about being legally cleared to operate, and getting exceptions to that depending on where you live, what's available to you for that. Also, like, is the case count in your area going down, or have you even had a case count? Like I mentioned earlier, people living in rural areas who haven't had one COVID case. That's awesome. In my county, cases are still rising. So does it make sense for you to do that? Even though the whole state of Virginia has been cleared, maybe you in your county, you should think about that. So all of those things go into when you should reopen as a business. And then your business itself, you talked about the type of photography, which I think is a really big consideration. Even if you do families and they're bringing toddlers in, if they like you, you know, they want to hug you and climb on you and that kind of stuff. And at least they do with me, and I know they do with others. You know, we're their best friends, so we're giving them candy and treats and all that kind of thing. So your business, you need to protect your business. So do you have new policies in place as far as when people come into your studio? Have you let them know that you might be asking them to wear a mask, and you might be asking them to take off your shoes, and you have new cleaning processes in place that you got from the CDC? That's where we tell people to go. CDC has really great resources for cleaning commercial spaces and home spaces, and so does UNICEF. Go into those places and adopting some of those cleaning policies, and have you posted those for your clients to see, to let them know when they come into your home, because I consider a retail studio or anything like that, that's my home. That's why I want to make people feel welcome. Do you have those things posted for them? And if you don't, you should. You should let people know what they're going to expect. And some people say like, oh man, is it rude for me to ask someone to wear a mask if they come into my studio? And at this point in the game, I think worldwide, it's not rude to ask anyone or expect anyone to have a mask on. I think if you switch that perspective and they know that you're looking out for their safety, and this is why you've put these policies in place, it's for their protection, then they're going to respect you even more as a professional. So yeah, go ahead.
So do we need to then sort of organize ourselves to put more space between our sessions to make sure we fully clean down places?
I would. I have never been one who has been a, 3-session type of person. I do 1 session a day, and then I have other things I need to do. But if you're working in a space where you have people coming in back to back, I would absolutely give yourself the space to clean. If you could hide, and the thing is that as the business owner, you shouldn't be doing the cleaning. So maybe you have someone come in who you can pay a lower rate every hour to come in and wipe things down, make sure everything's safe, make sure that your props are only in your dresses and your anything like that that touches your clients are cleaned. And also if they wear it on their body, that you're taking it out to get cleaned every time. So that might mean you need to bulk up on some of those things in your studio. So all of these things are really important considerations as far as how you can get back in business. Maybe you streamline things for a little bit a while, so it makes it easier for you to do that. I know I had my studio professionally cleaned, even though it's my home, it would be professionally cleaned. Now I would have to schedule mine out. So session, cleaning, session, cleaning, and people would be asked to take their shoes off, which they hadn't been before. I would ask them to wear masks in my home. I would clean my camera in front of them. I would probably wipe off things in front of them as appropriate, and have hand sanitizer and those types of things available for them to use as well. So it's more for their protection. And if you switch it from, like I said, a fear attitude of, oh, maybe they won't like me asking them to do these things, to an attitude of this is for their own safety, I don't think anyone's going to object to that. I certainly wouldn't object to that as a client, and hopefully no one else would either.
And if we just go back a step in the process, so let's say a client, you've got a shoot coming up and a client's coming in, are you suggesting that we should have a conversation before they even arrive to let them know what to expect, or give them a video as to what you're doing to show that you're responsible and everything's happening? Okay.
Absolutely. So I'm a firm believer that there should be no surprises in my process anywhere along the way. No surprises. Everybody needs to know what happens every step along the way, and they need to know before that step happens. So in my studio paperwork that I would be sending them, I have a policy about cleaning. I've also have revised my contract, and I've also checked with my insurance professional to make sure that I am completely protected. Now, contracts run a little bit different here in the US than they probably do in other countries. So what I'm going to say next really is specific to what I know about US law and about photography contracts in general. We have a great lawyer on call with IPSM who does all our contracting and is a really great resource. And I spoke with him the other day and I said, hey, you know, Bobby, what about a liability clause when it comes to COVID? And he said, well, every good contract has a force majeure clause, which is basically an act of God clause, which right now you could probably list COVID under because it's so new and this is an international pandemic worldwide, definitely an act of God. But the thing is COVID's not going to go away. We're just going to have to adapt to live with it, to manage it as best as possible. So where does it go from just being from an act of God into just something that we live with every day? So I have a separate liability clause being drawn up for my contract specifically to address that, because I want it to be very clear that I'm looking out for my safety and for my client's safety. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if any one of my clients got sick and they traced it back to my studio, I would be in court. And you hate to say that, but that's just the world that we live in, specifically in the US. So I have talked with my insurance people. I have talked with my legal counsel. I have adjusted my contract to make sure that I am fully protected when it comes to opening my business again. Any questions on that?
Yeah, no, I don't think we've had any questions just yet, but what I would like to do is I'd like to just rewind a little bit. So
okay.
Let's say I'm a newborn photographer, okay, and you probably have some members who've done this.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like I'm not comfortable because I know that there's closer contact. Mm-hmm. Would you suggest, and I'm struggling for money, so I've no choice but to do something. Mm-hmm. Would you encourage me to consider pivoting to do something else in the photography field? Yeah. If I'm uncomfortable about, or have you seen any of your members make those pivots or those changes?
Yeah, there are people making pivots. Here's the thing. If you're an established photographer and all you're known for is newborn photography and maternity photographer, and that's all that's in your portfolio, and that's all that's there, a pivot might be really difficult at this time. That doesn't mean you can't do it, because you can do headshots, you can do different things. You can let your clients know that you're opening up a new branch of your business and are they interested, that type of thing. So I do think that at this point in time, it probably is good to loosen up the reins on your specialty to be able to provide a wider range of services. Specific to newborn photographers, if you're not going to be, if you don't want to pivot, or you get someone who inquires, who wants a session, at this point in time, for me, I would not do a session in my home, and I would not do a session in like a studio space. I would probably rent. There's in Washington, DC and in Northern Virginia, there are spaces that you can rent that I can go into that would be neutral and do a session there. That's just me. That's my personal situation. I also have a husband who has had to go out in and out to work every day. And he's kind of the weak link in our quarantine chain. So because he has to go out to work and he's coming in and out of the home every day, even though we're using all the precautions, shoes off, wiping things down, he has to wear a mask at work, just sitting in an office for 6 hours, mask. So we're protecting ourselves as well as we can, but I would not be inviting anyone here. And we know we have a lot of people who have in-home studios. So I would probably invest in renting a commercial space that has to adhere to the commercial cleaning guidelines of the CDC. So I know it's been cleaned well, and speak with them when it comes to that.
That's great advice. Thank you for that.
So
what's next?
What's next? Okay. So the next thing you kind of touch base on it when it's like, well, should you let your clients know? And absolutely. So the last part of this, we talked about your family, we talked about your community, we talked about your business of when it's smart and things to consider about opening back up. And then it's just basically your clients. What's in the best interest of your clients? So number one, communicate. Put it on so it could be that your new cleaning standards are a selling point for you. So put those out on social media. Let people see your studio being cleaned and that your gowns are being cleaned with UV light and all those different things. You don't have to hide this. This is something that everyone should be showing the world, that they are taking steps that are responsible and appropriate for what we're going through right now. So also your new policies, we mentioned that earlier as well, with shoes and masks and gloves and sanitizer and all that kind of stuff. We call hand sanitizer in our house sanitizer because when my daughter was younger, she couldn't pronounce the whole thing. So sanitizer is just what we call it. It's like our own little contraction. So if I say that, that's what I'm talking about. So your clients, you want to protect them with contracts and insurance. Post your cleaning process somewhere in your studio. They can see it. Make it widely visible. Let them know. Be very open with things when it comes to how you are acting as a responsible business owner to keep them safe. And put in paragraphs in your what to prepare guide. Add all those different things in. Like I said, COVID's going to be around a long time. The way we operate our business has got to change with it to accommodate for that. It may not be considered an act of God, and hopefully it's not going to be a worldwide pandemic for too much longer, but some of these things are just going to need to stay. And so you can start doing those things now. And
I think you indicated that, are you suggesting that we might need some visual cues as well? So I know in our factories, we've had to map out, 2 meters or 3 feet area squares around equipment, just as visual cues and stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think with my studio, the way that it's set up, how I could indicate that. I think what I would do is a lot of times I have my clients who like come in and pop behind me while I'm working, or lean in and take a behind the scenes cell phone shot, that type of thing. I would probably really even put a line of tape or something on the ground and saying, for your safety and while I'm working with your child, please don't cross this line, that type of thing. And every workspace is different. And I've seen so many different studios. It's because I come from the newborn background. It's hard to keep parents when you're taking their baby. It's hard to keep parents 6 feet away. But if they trust you, they'll let you. There's no greater compliment to me that when I'm working with a baby, when I look over and the parents have fallen asleep. First of all, they're not in my hair, they're not asking me all sorts of questions, but if they can relax for a few minutes, that is an incredible compliment for me. And so you just have to keep all of those things separate and in mind. And keep in mind, there's no right or wrong to all of this. And if you're doing it from your best interest and your client's best interest, any policy that you put in place is probably going to be well received.
Very good. We have a couple of questions, so maybe we'll take them. Let me just see. So Che is asking, do we need a client waiver to not be sued if someone gets COVID-19 accidentally? I hear hospital bills, even with insurance, are upwards of 8,000. So you've already answered that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is you need to alter your contract to cover
that.
that.
I would absolutely do that.
And David is asking, how are we going to manage newborn sessions when a spotter has to be very close to a client's baby?
Yeah, right?
Any thoughts on that?
I think you just need to be very, very careful. Now, I have been doing newborns long enough. I love having a second person as a spotter, and I hire one often. For the time being, I would probably not have a spotter, or if I was going to do that, I would have dad come in and help. I wouldn't bring another completely separate third party into the studio to help with the session. I never have moms help with newborns because then babies smell them and they won't settle, but I will have dad come over and say, hey, can you place your hand right here? And then when I say go, just lift it up and then put it right back down. They can handle the training and they're up for it. I've never had a dad say no to helping me with something easy like that.
And let's say that's not possible. Would you consider changing the style of shoot? Is it possible with newborn to change the style?
You absolutely can change the style of newborn shoots. It used to be that the naked babies were really, really in style. And I always kind of call it the money shot, when I can get the naked baby perfectly asleep, rolled up. And if I got that, then I'm good. But a newer trend has been really to keep babies' diapers on, to wrap them up, to put them in baskets and to put them in buckets and that type of thing. So you can do so many beautiful, creative things with with photography. And just you could stumble upon working in this if you're experimenting, you have your solid session and the baby's still asleep and you have 10 more minutes you want to do some experimenting with at the end. You could develop a whole new trend of baby photography that's something totally beautiful, that's safer for baby and safer for everyone involved. So absolutely look into some of those things. If you're used to the naked baby stuff, let's try some stuff wrapped where we can keep diaper on, where they can remain warm and cozy and snuggled up, which means they're not going to wake up as much, which means the session won't take as long, things like that.
And have you any clients who are wedding photographers? Because like in Ireland, I don't know what it's like over there, but in Ireland, UK, all weddings have been cancelled, all hotels are closed. So literally, there's no sign of our business coming back anytime soon. Like us Irish, like we've been told the pubs aren't opening till September. Do you know how hard that is for us?
Wait, the pubs are closed?
The pubs are closed and aren't
Oh my
opening, we're told,
goodness.
to at least September. You know, like that's part of Irish culture for those who have been to Ireland.
Right.
So the whole wedding thing is and weddings in this country and the UK, they tend to be big, you know, because all the family 4 steps back are at the weddings and stuff like that. So if I'm a wedding photographer and I'm in that struggle, is there any particular genre that is closer to wedding that might be easier for me to pivot to, or have you any thoughts on that?
I think people are still getting married and they may not be having the big parties at this point in time. Several of our members have shot very small backyard weddings and that type of thing. So you need to let your clients know that you're available for that. You need to let your clients know that you still can do the engagement sessions, that you still can do their professional headshots, that you still want to be in touch with them and that type of thing. But as far as, you know, people here aren't having big get-togethers either. Just from a personal, I know Dwayne Murphy says a whole new level of riots. There are no pubs. You know, yes, just indeed. A kind of a personal note on gatherings, that my mom passed away on March 11th. And the US shut down on basically the 13th. And so we haven't been able to have a funeral for her. So I totally get that waiting game. And I have so much empathy for people who have put big milestone events on hold. But love doesn't stop because of Corona. People probably are still getting married, maybe going and doing different things, maybe having commitment ceremonies and then doing things legally another time. So let your people know that you're available for those things, and beef up your marketing. So because there are people who have put off those things. So really get in a situation where behind the scenes with your business, where you have everything, you're ready to go. As soon as, you know, Ireland flips the switch to be ready to go, you're on it. You've been doing your marketing, you've been collecting your names, because these things don't happen. Babies don't stop being born. And what I've been telling our members is, listen, you should be, as a professional, able to take beautiful images of a small newborn baby at 3 months just as well as the newborn phase. So think outside the box a little bit, stretch your beliefs of what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, and do something great and original for your business.
Right. Well, I'm not a photographer. Right? I can't even take a selfie. My daughters slag me off all the time. My son doesn't pay any attention. But my 3 daughters go, Dad, we need to teach you. But so this is why I'm asking this question, is because I know nothing about photography, right?
Yeah.
But if I am a wedding photographer and I'm in Ireland and it looks like it's not going to open for months and months and months, is there a particular type of photography that I can adapt my skills quicker, or is that just not a consideration?
Absolutely. If you're a good photographer, you can adapt your skills to anything. I truly believe that. Now, you may not want to, it may not be your favorite genre, but you can adapt your skills to anything. A good photographer can take a good picture of anything. And is it going to like win awards? Maybe not, but it should be in focus. Color should be good, all those types of things. So I don't know, headshots is something that I think people are, with so many people being laid off and furloughed, there's a lot of people sitting at home saying, you know what? I didn't like that job anyway. I want to try and do something else. And so their LinkedIn needs to be updated, all those types of things. You could do headshot days where you have a very confined space and you wipe down everything in, but you could probably do, 4 or 5 sessions like that, because my headshot sessions, when they're simple, they don't last longer than a half an hour. You schedule one every hour. They're in there for a half an hour, one look, one setup, wipe everything down, and then go on to the next person. But it just depends. You can even do outdoor headshots in a park or something like that with beautiful greenery, because now it's here, the leaves are finally on the trees, to give a more environmental look, which would be even safer. So there's lots of options that you can have, and you can make beautiful headshots with a speed light and a reflector if you get all your settings right, and it's good to go. So there's lots of resources out as far as the skills go, but just think outside the box. This is a great time for our industry to create something new. And it just takes a little spark and the courage of someone to say, you know what, I'm going to try this a different way and see if it sticks. And you could have a whole new trend going on, a whole new business niche for yourself. Don't be scared to get out there and try.
Very good. And you're right. I think Mike Michalowicz calls it in his book Surge, what's the next wave that's coming in? Position yourself for that. And you've just touched on that there with the headshot. Now, current headshot photographers will be going, don't be telling everyone that, please. We thought we were going to have a
I'm sorry, current
train
headshot,
on their own.
You can't, listen, you can't shoot everybody. Like, you just can't. There is enough business to go around if we're professional, we're setting up our businesses right, and we're good professional people with good, honest intentions, and we want to serve our clients well.
Keith has a question. Let's just see what he's asking. I have run a boudoir photography studio for a decade. We have a makeup artist and a stylist, both of whom are on an essential part of the shoot.
Yeah.
We can wear PPE, but the MUA and stylist can't stay 2 meters away. Yeah. The client obviously can't wear a mask. We stopped before lockdown because it wasn't safe. I can't see a way forward with the current situation. Do you have any suggestions?
Okay. Well, as someone who knows to do makeup, I can do pretty good makeup for on myself. And there's a lot of women out there who can do really good makeup on themselves. So maybe you just have your makeup artist there say that your client does a lot of things himself. You might have to adjust your pricing, but don't think that because you have to take certain things away or out of a shoot that you're compromising the experience that your client is going to get. And I know that that's a really hard thing for boudoir photographers to understand, because the makeup and the hair is all part of the experience that we women love. Like, I totally get that. I think with your makeup artist, you need to sit down with them and you need to say, is everything being sanitized after every single session, everything that they touch, every single makeup brush, every single makeup pan, all of that? Are they following those cleanliness rules? I think you need to have a legal agreement with them that if they say they're doing it, they're doing it. And if anyone gets sick, it's going to fall on their liability insurance, not on your liability insurance, to protect yourself. The same goes with hair. Most people can do their hair pretty well, but they like the experience of having someone else do it for them. You're going to have clients who are not going to have a problem at all coming in and having all the hands touching them, masks or not. Makeup artists can wear masks, clients cannot. Makeup artists can wear gloves, clients cannot. Hairdressers can wear gloves, hairdressers can wear masks. They can wear the full PPE shields. They can do their job while working on a client. So that is just something to consider when it comes to those more hands-on services, that they can do their job with those protective items in place and still do a great job. And you can joke about it and still have a great session with your clients.
So I don't use makeup, okay? But do you think, let's say you were going for a boudoir session.
Yes.
Do you think that your makeup artist could give instruction to the client 6 feet away?
Yeah, and I think they could if someone is handy with makeup. If someone with me, if I'm proficient with makeup, I can put on false eyelashes, that kind of stuff. That comes from my singing days, of me having to do that for stage. If I had a really well thought out instruction video to follow from a makeup artist, I watch this before you come to the studio to do your makeup. And that makeup video was filled with certain tips and tricks that the boudoir might say, now listen, look out for this area here to make sure it's blended correctly. And when you apply your powder, do this, this, this. And when you do your lipstick, do this and then this. That's going to be very great for some people. For me, it would be great because I could follow it. There's other people who are totally helpless when it comes to putting on makeup. They just don't have the skill set to follow it. They don't even own a lip gloss and they're coming in for a boudoir session. So again, that's kind of a case-by-case basis, but most women kind of have a working idea of how it works. Now, whether they actually own all the supplies to do the job that the professional does, they probably don't. I'm an exception, I probably do. So it just depends, but a well thought out video would not be a bad idea for those clients who felt, that they could follow it.
And just like the newborn, I presume you could adjust your style as well, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That like I see a lot of boudoir photographers and you don't see full face shots, they do a lot of shadows and yeah.
That type of thing. Now, okay, so James asked, licensed cosmetologists are supposed to be trained in disease. I totally agree, James, when it comes to the licensing, they should be trained in this. COVID's a little bit different, so make sure that they have stayed up to date on any new and upcoming sanitation guidelines that they need to work with. So
is there anything we haven't in your guide that you have? Is there somewhere we haven't gone yet, or? Well,
there's two things. Sandra says, I keep referring to wiping things down between sessions. What about using a UVB wand? I'm not an expert in germ killing, but I have heard a UVB wand works just as well. So if you're getting that information from a reputable source and they say that this is a good way to be able to kill the germs, absolutely. I've heard of people doing that for their gowns that they have for maternity sessions and that type of thing. And then Tom just says, how would she, I'm assuming me, suggest we distribute this legal contract to our clients? Tom, I use a customer management system called Pixify, and that is how all my clients go, how all my contracts go out to my clients. They sign it electronically. It's super, super easy. And then we're all good to go. So I just do all that electronically.
I think even Adobe have that service now, right?
Adobe might have that service, and a lot of places. I know Shoeproof has adopted contracts. A lot of like your gallery services have adopted contracts. Just make sure you're not taking their boilerplate contract and thinking that it's going to protect you. If you start with a boilerplate contract, take it to your local attorney, have them check it out. That's actually cheaper than having them write it up. Having them do a contract check is less expensive than having to create it from scratch, even though it is all just boilerplate stuff that they put in. So you can get those contracts, but just make sure you have your legal counsel check those. And if you don't have legal counsel, now is a great time to find one.
Yes, yes it is. Yes it is. So is there anything else in your guide that we haven't touched on that you think that we have to talk about that because we can't miss that piece?
Well, the letter that here, I'm going to put this in the comments here. I know that you have it too, but this is just a blog post that we wrote that I put it in the Zoom webinar chat. So some people have it. I don't think I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing, Ronan. There's 7 things there, and we basically covered all those things. The biggest thing is just like we opened with, is just be safe, use your best judgment, work in your clients and yourself's best interest. If someone wants to hire you but doesn't want to come, take off their shoes or wear a mask or follow those safety procedures, you have to really weigh long and hard whether it's the right thing for you to take those sessions. Watch what your state and your region is doing as far as reopening. Watch those guidelines very well. If you have questions, there are people, at least I know in the governor's office and through the state of Virginia, which would be with every state, where you can ask questions. We are a non-essential business, but non-essential businesses are being allowed to open up. Just use your best judgment. Keep yourself safe, people. Keep yourself safe. Number 1 priority, keep yourself so very, very safe and your family safe. And use your best judgment is when it comes to what is right for your business.
And, we've had this debate on some other think tank pieces in that we may be regarded as non-essential, but we actually have a really important role
Oh, so
coming
important.
out of this, because, you know, people are struggling mentally. But what is happening, and we do a lot of social listening in our business, we can see that bonds are strengthening between people and their families or their spouses or their pets.
Yeah.
You know, and we've an important job to coming out of this to capture those moments, freeze time for them, so that they can enjoy those portraits for days, weeks, months, years to come.
Oh, yeah.
And that in itself makes them healthier in mind, body, and spirit, because it puts a smile on their face, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and going through my mother's things and seeing all these photographs, and Mother's Day in the US is on Sunday. Just seeing all those things, you know, granted her passing is very fresh, but that makes me feel good. Like to look at those images and to see that love and that connection in those images. And so this time is just as important as any other time to not only remember, not only to be capturing these connections for clients, but also for yourself.
Yes.
Don't forget about yourself.
Yes, David and Whitney Scott actually, they decided to capture all the moments in their family story, and you know David and Whitney very well as well.
Yeah.
And they published a blog on 3XM Solutions blog there this week, and it was just fascinating just to see the story. And Whitney was saying, you know, we have a saying here in Ireland: the cobbler's son doesn't have any shoes, you know, because they're so busy doing stuff for other people.
Right.
And they were saying that, you know, this has given them a chance to just capture their own family story in a way that they've never captured before, and document this whole time period, you know.
Oh yeah, and families are doing stuff. We got a new quarantine pet. We have two new hamsters in our house, and you know, my sister's going to be adopting a dog, and just a lot of different things that are happening in families that they never even thought they would do. But it's like, you know what? It's a new day, and we don't have to live by some of these old things that we thought we should do or shouldn't do in the past. And it is interesting to see how people are reacting to all of this.
And the other thing is, you know, smile at people. Like we're allowed walk for 1.5 miles, and I'm out for my walk every day, and people are,
I know,
but they're afraid to look at you, you know. So I make it my job to just say hello and smile at them, you know, because literally, you know,
it's hard. And the hard thing is shopping in the US, you know, we wear masks, so people can't see your smile. So my daughter has a mask that literally says smile on it with a big smiley face, but nobody's talking to each other. So you can go into these stores and it's so quiet.
Yes.
Like it's just quiet. And I want to talk to people. So I will talk to you. If you see me in a store, I'm probably going to talk to you.
Well, I saw a mask the other day, and they've masks now with a clear piece here, so you can see the person smiling at you. I don't know if you've seen those.
I haven't seen those yet. I'd be afraid they'd get very foggy.
Yeah.
You know, but still anything just to make that connection a little bit better.
That's it.
And
even just make eye contact if you can't see their smile, you know. They'll see the smile beneath the mask anyway, because they'll see the change in the dimples. Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Dorie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your knowledge. We thank you, yourself and Rachel and everyone at IPS Mastermind, for sharing all this great knowledge. And I know, you know, you've big hearts and you're there to help people. And I just thank you so much for joining us.
Well, Ronan, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for introducing me to your community. It's always a pleasure. And we just wish the best for everyone.
Absolutely. So thank you, everybody. What time is it there now with you? What time is it? It's what, 1:30?
It is 1:30 Virginia
so
time.
lunchtime. So lunchtime Virginia time. It's 6:30. It's 6:30 p.m. here. So guess what? It's wine o'clock time for me.
It's wine o'clock, yeah. In our house, it'll be margarita time later. So it's all good.
Okay. Well, enjoy that later. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.